The Christian life is not easy. God never promised it would be full of health, wealth, and prosperity. In fact, our role on this earth is as a soldier, not a passerby. We are fighting for spiritual victory and must develop discipline to fulfill this purpose. This week in Walk Talks, Luke Tackett challenges us in 4 very specific areas that focus our attention on how to develop a diligent Christian life.
Welcome back to the Walk Talks podcast. If you've been listening over the past few days, we've looked at being diligent in your walk with God and being diligent in your work for God. Today, I want to contrast that with looking at the consequences of living a lazy life. Just as there are many benefits to being diligent, the Bible also talks about many dangers and consequences of laziness. I'll start by looking at a few verses in Proverbs. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. The way of the slothful man is as an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and the idle soul shall suffer hunger. There are plenty of these verses in Proverbs. Proverbs is just packed with them. We can see through Proverbs and many different other places that God has a lot to say about diligence and laziness. Laziness is often made light of and considered not to be that bad. There's all sorts of lazy people. The American culture has glorified laziness as something that's almost a good thing. We take pride in how little effort we have to put into things. how much technology we have that does the work for us. And I'm not against technology. I'm recording right now on technology. But I do think we should guard against laziness and not buy into the lie that our culture is telling us that the less we do, the better we'll feel. It's not true. God feels very strongly about laziness. I want to look at a character in Matthew 25 who reaped the consequences of laziness. Matthew 25 is a well-known story. Jesus is telling the parable about the 3 servants who were given a large sum of money to invest while the master's on a long journey. I'm sure y'all have heard the parable, but I want to read it and go through it. The parable starts in Matthew 25, verse 14. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, and every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that received 2, he gained another 2. But he that received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that received 5 talents came and brought the other 5, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. He also that received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliveredst unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I know thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gatherest where I not strawed. Therefore thou oughtest to have put my money to the exchangers, and that at my coming I should at least receive mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it to them which hath 10 talents. For every one of them who hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But for him that hath not shall be taken away from him even that which he hath. Cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the master of the story gave the 3 servants some money. To the first he gave 5, the second 2, and the last he gave 1. The first 2 servants were diligent and spent the time that their master was gone in trading the money perhaps, or buying and selling things to make a profit, maybe investing the money. They gave time and effort to grow and increase the money that the master had entrusted to them. But the last servant was lazy. He didn't want to put the time and effort in to do anything with the money. And like he said, he was afraid of the master, so he went and hid it in the ground. And when his master came back, he starts making all kinds of excuses and pointing fingers at his boss as to why he didn't make money with it, which I'm not sure why anyone would ever try to point fingers back at the boss and think that's going to end well, but that's beside the point. But we see a stark contrast between the benefits of diligence and the consequences of laziness, just exemplified in this parable. The 2 servants who were diligent were promoted and given much more responsibility and favor. The last servant was fired and cast out into outer darkness. This should serve as a warning to all those, including myself, who struggle with laziness. I'm not always a diligent person. I struggle with this too. As I've been studying for this podcast, this has been convicting to me, and the Lord started to show me small areas of my life that I see that I do things that are just lazy, and I need to work on them. So that is an encouragement to me as well to live a diligent life, not just because of the consequences, but out of the love for the Lord and a desire to serve Him.
Thanks for being a part of Walk Talks today by listening and subscribing to our podcast. Follow us on social media for sneak peeks at future episodes and to share your favorites with others who would benefit as well. We hope your heart has been enriched by God's Word to take your next step in following Christ.